Pubic Enemies is the tale of President Lex Luthor's America hunting down Batman and Superman, and it's literally like smashing your toys together. And you know what? Part of that fun is knowing these aren't just toys, they're characters with history. And the comic knows this. Side by side it opens with Batman and Superman's origins. Clark thinks of how hard it must have been for his parents to send him away. Bruce obsesses over how his parents were taken away against their will. So where one lives a dream, the other lives a nightmare. It's been a good life. It is not a life I would wish on anyone. These thoughts are featured throughout the entire story, giving poetry and humor to their opinions, like when Bruce complains about Clark appearing out of nowhere all the time, while Clark loves it. The animated film knows it can't have narration every 3 seconds, so instead it has Kevin Conroy, Tim Daly, Clancy Brown, and CCH Pounder. They all return, whose familiar performances all give gravitas and history to their roles. But these thought boxes weren't just a bit of fun, they were also the real meat of the story, because in a tale of President Lex Luthor and kryptonite meteors, it's the development of these intimate feelings that you end up finding yourself being invested in. Therefore, taking it away requires adjusting everything else. Give a different hook, if you will. The film's answer is to actually treat the political setting with actual serious real gravitas. It opens with news reports of how Lex won the presidency during a recession and speaking to people's xenophobia.
And not the least of the problems we face is that of aliens and so-called superheroes.
As a result, your entry point into this world is less intimate. The story is now less about two people, but is with a place, an urgent and foreboding one. And we anticipate how two people will change it. Batman and Superman fighting the US government is by nature really unavoidably political. Story decisions on why they're outlaws, what sort of status quo is left at the end, what does the villainous administration represent and how they behave, etc. These together composes a political position. It will be against or in support of something. Let's in fact take a look at Lex Luthor.
Asshole!
Comic him is ironically way more cartoonish than the actual cartoon. His excuse for Superman's bounty is, "He must be behind the kryptonite asteroid coming to hit us, America! Get him!" When Lois asks about evidence, he's like, "I don't know, dude." There's also this fight scene that's completely cut in the film where he beats up the entire Bat family when they're looking for Batman and Superman. In contrast, film Lex is more like a charismatic manipulator.
Could you have even dreamed back then that I would be president today?
Now, what am I supposed to admit?
That Luthor hasn't done a bad job.
Did you think it was in me?
Luthor did the one thing nobody was expecting. The economy's back to normal, crime's down, there are no wars or anything.
Then if I could change that much, couldn't he?
He's up to something. Can't anybody see that?
But if those scenes were added in the movie. People aren't just following him because of his position as president, but he's also able to leverage his successful rule to paint himself as a new man. Lex represents a different world, where the threshold for redemption isn't met by the contents of one's characters or convictions, but their successes within the electoral system. A world without heroes, if you will.
You're brooding, Amanda.
I'm just thinking we have all sorts of other firepower.
You mean those so-called superheroes?
However, medias don't care about the economy or malignant narcissists.
That's not why you won't use them.
No.
You want all the credit for yourself.
So when Lex's rocket doesn't work, Americans take it well. Lex injects himself with kryptonite, and just look at his, even then mixed out with Waller. Luthor's delusions of grandeur has exacerbated to the point that he believes he's a god and can lead the new world even after Armageddon. Both versions of Lex are bleeding mad, which is their attempt to scud around indicting any political side or position. Lex even runs a third party.
22% of Americans now support his third-party bid.
Thus, the conflict is composed entirely by individuals, where the system or a particular party isn't at fault. It's the singular madness of this bold evil man.
God bless America. God bless me!
But because there is an attempt to contextualize Lex as a more credible political figure in the film, this contributes to a different message, and the best way to understand it is to look at Captain Atom. Captain Adam takes the Dark Knight Returns Superman role, the all-powerful fool who follows orders, hunting down his former friends despite how it contradicts his own conscience. This Superman instead fucking manhandles Lex when he speaks to him like Ronald Reagan did.
You'll be working for me, but only insofar as I represent the country that adopted you.
Captain Adam represents complete devotion to the system, who in the film believes Lex is using his dickness to be a good president.
No one will have a choice but to respect him.
Therefore, to break him down in the film, Batman has to break his faith. He openly taunts Major Force, the dude who framed them, arguing that his patriotism is just used as an excuse to kill people.
But I don't see any patriotism here. All I see is a psycho who's latched onto an excuse to kill people, and who's so stupid he doesn't realize he's being used by Luthor.
Captain Adam overhears it and laments on how it's true. Lex has turned them into mercenaries, so he changes.
This is the least I can do.
Letting the heroes go to absorb Major Force's imminent explosion, and at the end, it's not Batman who arrests President Lex, but him.
Stay back. Stop! That's an order! From the president!
This development in becoming a more critical person, no longer motivated by blind patriotic faith, is something the comic version actually doesn't have. Here, he absorbs Major Force because Batman appealed to his personal honor in saving Tokyo. In times of war, circumstances dictate action, motherfucker. Cap beforehand even tells Superman, only guilty men run. Therefore, his relationship with his orders don't actually change. He also doesn't explicitly go after Lex at any point. Instead, his focus shifts entirely onto the meteor when he speaks with a broken Superman from the future who failed to stop it. Where he sees someone giving up, he refuses to. That's why he's the one who climbs into the only one man can stop this kryptonite meteor that can survive f***ing rockets. A very pervy young man.
Does Power Girl have big?
Just feed it the numbers, kid.
Hiro Okamura, who has a giant Superman-Batman rocket ship. Of course! In the film, Lex destroys the guidance computer, so Batman climbs in. Superman's like, no! The comic version, it's Captain Adam. His arc is instead learning to put aside his personal politics to do what's necessary, repeating to Batman, in times of war, circumstances dictate action. Thus, comedy ensues as he monologues alone, while Superman fights Lex Luthor on the streets. So one moment it's, it ends today! Then it's, for all the trips that have hurtled me towards in time, I have shown remarkably bad judgment in seeing my own future. I genuinely laughed out loud at first when I read this. The purpose of cross-cutting between these two moments is to create a really weird patriotic crescendo where Superman's internal monologue reveals how it wasn't his place to tell people not to vote for Lex, because he truly believes American democracy with all its flaws does work, while Captain Adam gives a speech about serving his country, from the Air Force to the experiments, and now flying into a meteor. His last words are, in fact, and may God bless Canada. It connotes democracy may not be perfect, but be patient with it and have pride in being an American or whatever. I'm not American myself, so this doesn't mean anything to me. But that's not where the comic's concentration lies. That's on the friendship. Superman is a man on a mission to beat his old nemesis, and Batman, he's just here to support his pal and to stop a meteor. But he's got more personal stakes in the comic as he discovers Metallo might have killed his parents because he was in Gotham that night with the same caliber gun, and this strains his relationship with Clark because he knew from Star Labs but never told him, which is really dumb. So the film changed it. So Metallo is just Lex's Secret Service bodyguard, who Major Force kills to frame Superman for Lex's bounty. The original purpose of this Metallo story beat was to initially create pressure onto Batman and Superman's friendship. In the final narration, in fact, Bruce discovers it was all planted to distract them, but he confesses happily, Luthor never considered that I would put that case aside to help Superman. That's what friends do for each other. While from Superman's perspective, he confesses how he knows Bruce means well as his friend when he advised Clark to hide while the heroes pick up all the fallen kryptonite. This is the note the comic ends on, minus this little Lex Luthor setup for something else. Whatever happens, despite their differences, they will always be there for one another, from birth, from now, to the future. In the film, the big crescendo instead goes back to what the story began with, the American people. People who look up and cheer as the meteor stopped and Superman saves Batman, who declared,
"That was my best friend."
Which is code for I touched his hand that one time. The story started with a hopeless world consumed by poverty, war, civil unrest, and in that hole, people traded their imagination for a limited answer. But now, the world is saved from good old-fashioned heroes. People are ready to believe in something different.
Now go save us.
As a result, the film is willing to make more of a statement that people should believe in more, that they need to be braver with what they want the world to be, expect more from their leaders, and value the right things. And these two juiced up looking dudes just reminded them. And yeah, that was my video. I'm gonna be completely honest, I only made this because I want to call this video Pubic Enemies. So the Kryptonite media survives a load of nukes. Captain Adam is concerned over Lex's use of a boom tube, which is not only illegal, but is evidence of trade with Apocalypse, you know, a known enemy of the world. So then, Lex tells him to shut the f*** up.
Please, hold on.
I could have carried you. Between you and me, I hate that.